One of the things that I find more often than probably almost anything else would be is that I hear veterans tell me all the time that, I'm not going to file a claim with the VA. I'm just going to save it for the next guy. Or, I have a Purple Heart or a bad back or I was injured this way or that way. But no problem. I'm just going to go ahead and live my life and I'm not going to do anything about it because there's inevitably always somebody out there who's worse off than I am. Nothing could really be further from the truth. You have to understand the VA has a budget of $125 billion for 2011. In 2010, it was $112.8 billion. Which is an offset of $12.2 billion that's actually more in 2011 because of the fact that so many soldiers are returning and starting to file claims with the VA. The fact is that if you don't use it, then they'll tend to cut the funding for it in the coming years because nobody's actually using the benefits that are available. The VA makes it hard enough on its own to where it's like a giant maze for veterans to go through to get benefits. And when you don't actually apply for it when you come home or when you first get out or you wait 20 years, the longer that things tend to wait, that you live with those injuries, the less likelihood you actually have of getting your claims approved because the VA looks at it and says, well, why'd you wait so long? That's been a really big problem over the years that I've always seen is that people are willing to live in pain because they'd rather save it for the next guy. Fact is that there was enough for both of you, and so by filing sooner than later, it makes it so that yes, the maze is still there of dealing with the VA, but at the same time, it makes it easier to get through because of the fact that then you don't have to explain why it took you 20, 30 years to come forward. Now, let's go back to that maze that I was referring to. Oftentimes when I'm talking with vets, I like to explain it to them as this. The VA will have a starting point here and a finish point over here, and it may only be 20 yards away, but the fact is that the VA doesn't explain to you that it's a minefield that you're trying to go through. There's a lot of different problems in difficulties in getting benefits, and actually veterans ask me all the time why it is that the VA makes it so difficult. Well, when you stop and look at the numbers of, yes, they do have $125 billion, but that's for a lot of programs. It's to employ a lot of people, and at the same time, some of those people are there as obstacles between you and your benefits. They're not just going to open up the checkbook because you say you're injured. Number one, you have to prove your injuries, and number two, it takes a long time to be able to prove those sufficiently to where you can win your claims. Because remember, it's very difficult to try and prove an injury that happened 40 years ago, but at the same time, it can still be done in most cases. It's going to take a lot of work on your part. Now, when you don't file claims with the VA, what it ends up doing is painting yourself into a corner. Fact is I waited 20 years to file. Okay, then why? You can't answer that question if you wait that long. Now, I understand some injuries take 20, 30, 40 years to even surface, but at the same time, when they do surface, you need to go ahead and start filing. That maze that I keep referring to that says that it's very difficult to get through the VA, that's why there's people like us in the world. That's why you have actually county veteran benefit coordinators, you have reps, you have social workers. Yeah, the trick is you have to find the ones that you feel have your best interest at heart and want to see you succeed, but at the same time have the level of knowledge to be able to help assist you in getting there. Honestly, one of the worst problems that I dealt with when I dealt with my own stuff is I tried to do too much on my own. And that caused me a lot of heartache, which is why I went ahead and learned this process that the VA uses, and why I try, my wife, myself, and people that I know around me, we all try and help other people because we know how difficult it is to be on your own. One of the biggest mistakes that vets make all the time is they say, oh, well, this can't be that complicated. Or, I was a pilot or a nuclear engineer in the service, or I was a lawyer, or I was a doctor, or I work in the medical field. Let me tell you something. Unless you speak Title 38, you're just not going to get there. One of the biggest problems that I see is people are not willing to delegate to the people who do know what they're doing. And it doesn't matter if you are a nuclear engineer. Hey, great, I'm sure you're great at what you did and all of your work in the service, but the fact is that's why they have these people, is to help you get through your claims. Because let me tell you something, just because you were a doctor doesn't mean that you're great at making it through mazes. It doesn't mean that you're able to speak Title 38. It doesn't mean that you're able to see past all the bureaucracy. Let me tell you, when you're fighting the VA, you are fighting one of the greatest bureaucracies in the world. And I'm not saying that to be mean or cynical. It's just a reality. You're dealing with people who could care less if your claims get won. You're dealing with people who don't have your best interest at heart. So finding those people that do have your best interest at heart, that just want to see you succeed, that is how you're going to win, because a smart person knows when it's time to delegate and when it's time to bring in specialists and when it's time to bring in people who can help compensate in the areas that get it a little bit over your head. Because when you make mistakes when filing claims and fighting the VA, mistakes cost you and will cost you dearly. You have to be willing to say, hey, you know what? I'm not the smartest guy in the world, so therefore let me find somebody who knows this. I'm sure whatever job you did great, but it doesn't mean you know everything. You could put some of the most intellectual minds on this planet to work in claims, but if they don't know what they're doing, they're going to lose too. That's the problem that we as veterans face day in and day out. That is why you want to get the help that you need to be able to win, because I assure you, I've posed this question to many groups of veterans. What was it that you learned while you were in the service? And the responses vary greatly. Never quit, never give up, fight, honor, dignity, honesty, toughness, a lot of different things. If you start using those things when you're fighting your claims with the VA and say, look, you know what? I have to be tough to win this. I have to be honest to win this. I have to be detail-oriented to win this. A lot of different characteristics, but the thing is the military taught you each of the things that you need to know. And on top of it, they give you the tools that you need, but you have to learn how to use those tools. You have to learn how to find the people and seek out the people that you need to be able to win. When you're going to a medical appointment, when you walk in there, if you think that doctor has your best interest at heart, chances are he doesn't. But if you know what you're doing and you know how to ask the right questions and you know how to sit and talk logically about your disability, know what you're talking about, ask the right questions, get the right documentation, get the right people help filing your claims, get the right people who have the right answers, research yourself on it. One thing I've always found with vets is we're not lazy people. If you use those tools and use everything you have, yeah, you're fighting a big bureaucracy, but at the same time you can be successful because they've given you all the tools that you need to win. It's just learning how to use them. Because if you go, well, I can do this on my own. Let me tell you something. I once knew a guy who defended himself in court all the way to the electric chair. His name was Ted Bundy. He was an attorney. He thought, I'm smarter than everybody else. And guess what? He lost, and so will you. And a person who defends himself as a fool for an attorney, don't try and do it on your own. I'm telling you, use the tools that are out there, because otherwise, I promise you, you will not be successful. Thank you.